Hi, everyone. My name is Safdar. I'm working in Microsoft. I am a principal data and AI architect. I'm focusing on Gen AI workloads, across open source model as well as ChatGPT, GPT-4. And recently, I have been working with GPT-4 Turbo with VN, where you can input images. And so what I'm looking at that we will discuss about the generative AI and the responsible AI use of these large language models, and to make our systems and the integrations and the services secure. So when we're talking about Microsoft, I would like to highlight that our responsible AI journey started back in 2016, right? So, and so that the purpose of showing that slide is that you can see a different in different years how basically we took multiple steps to make sure that Microsoft AI is secure, and we have a responsible AI practice established and implemented. So if you see in 2018, we have our AI principles, they were adopted. Then in 2019, we released our first AI standard, right? It was a quite detailed standard which focuses on principles, goals, and things like that, which basically makes the system more secure. In 2019, also, we got the Responsible AI Office established, which started working. So the benefit of such an initiative is that we understand that all the efforts are basically focused, and we are working as an organization towards one direction, which is making our AI systems secure for our customers, right? So then, if you see in 2022, we released the V2 of that standard, basically, which was an enhancement or update to the V1 and that was basically driven mainly from our customers' feedback, from our internal research, and then basically, that has multiple options. So this is how I wanted to show you that how in Microsoft we take responsible AI seriously. We have processes, people, technology, and the will to basically make the AI system secure and more accessible to our customers. When I talk about Microsoft Responsible AI principles, we have these 5 principles, including fairness, reliability, privacy, inclusiveness, transparency, and accountability. Now, when we talk about like fairness, right? So and reliability and these all principles are extremely important, and they basically tell us that how reliable and how the systems which are operating, how trustworthy they are, right? So for example, we have a responsible AI dashboard, and I will basically request everyone on this webinar. You can definitely search that, and you can see that what sort of technology and implementations we provide on our AI models. For example, interpretability is one of the things that you want to make. You want to see that if your model is predicting a certain outcome, which of the features in your data set or which of the features in your input data are basically impacting that outcome. For example, if we are working towards a banking application, right, and the loan is getting approved, definitely your audit and let's say system is basically approving the loan application of certain group of individuals. Yeah, your audit and compliance department will definitely come back to you. Why is that? Because nowadays it's no, you cannot say that AI model is a black box, right? So what we provide in Microsoft, specifically the responsible AI dashboard, you can go up to these features level, and you can take out that, okay, when the model predicted this feature, for example, in case of our example, maybe the education or the home where the applicant was living were the major decision makers, right? Secondly, things what we provide out of the box in these tools is basically that, for example, we can also see that what group of people the model is there any group of people in your data which model is giving some preference to, right? Or is it behaving same for example, for male and female applicants, right? So all of that basically metrics, these are available as a part of the responsible AI principles, and these principles are well embedded in the way we work with our AI model. Now, when we're talking about the Office of Responsible AI, I mean, we can look at that we have engineering, we have policy, we have research, and all of them basically come together. And Office of Responsible AI governs and coordinates the efforts, and to make sure that we get the best from the research side, and our implementation side, which is our engineering side, gets that, and that gets that research becomes a part of the implementation process. So if you see the responsible AI standard, basically the principles, the 5 principles which I showed you, and I will again, if you go to the responsible AI standard by Microsoft version 2, you will see that how all of these principles are basically connected to the goals and the requirements and tools. So it's a template. It gives you end-to-end mapping of your applications and business goals, and then you can basically select which principle or which goal are more relevant to your organization, and then you can basically implement them. For example, the principles, what are the values, which our responsible AI system should work towards, and goals are at what are the outcomes basically which we need to secure, and these goals basically at the end of the day they map to either of those 5 principles, right? Now requirements is very interesting. Now, these standards also provide that what are the requirements, what your organization must take to secure those goals, and then tools and practices, which is the technology side, right? So definitely, it's a very great framework built with a lot of insights, and this has helped our customers a lot with the responsible AI implementations, for the Gen AI models, open source models, LLMs, as well as the organizations who are implementing their own AI models. So Microsoft runs on Azure AI, right? So we are basically working on that. So when I talk about the responsible AI platform, what we want to say that you basically run your data on the cloud, and everybody knows that when you work on Azure, we have Active Directory security, virtual network segregations, role-based access control. So when we are talking about running the workloads or deploying your models on Azure, we are talking about the Azure ecosystem, which is very advanced, very secure, coupled by very strong security controls. That all comes in the picture. So it's not in silo. It runs on Azure, and Azure is basically secure system where you have a resource level monitoring, logging, alert mechanisms, and whatnot, right? So that service, the OpenAI, the Azure AI service, is one of those services, one of other services which sits in that ecosystem. And remember that it's not only running your model. Like one of my colleagues, he just discussed the RAG model, right? So when you're talking about retrieval augmented generation, definitely you're trying to run your open AI models on your enterprise data. The question is that enterprise data, where it is hosted, is it secure? I mean, who can access it? OpenAI model, if the Azure OpenAI endpoint can access it, is it free from access from any other location? Is it a role-based access? Is it a user-based access? Is it a service principal-based access? Is it an identity-based access, right? So all of these things are very important to be reviewed and analyzed. And what I have seen in Azure, that because these all layers of security are built over years of innovation and years of maturity. So bringing your OpenAI workload and just hitting that data with all of those security paradigm makes it really secure running in Azure. So when we are talking about LLMs, right, specifically LLMs, when we're talking about security of LLMs, Definitely, infrastructure security is very important. Network isolation is very important. Firewall isolation is very important. Private handlings are very important. So these are IP-based filtering, firewalls. All of these are very important. But when you're talking about the power of the model itself, once you reach the model, then definitely there are certain things which you would like to avoid, because these models are so strong. They are generative models. Their whole purpose is you ask them a question and they will respond it. The way they are trained, actually, they are trained on so much large data, and how they are trained that when you ask it a question or it predicts a token, that token predicts the next sort of token, that token predicts the next token. So it's a transformer based model. It's a token based generative model where each token drives the probability of the next token. So what I'm trying to say over here, the traditional security, traditional word-based security, or that guardrails do not apply to these models. They are contextual-based models. So you need to make sure that any practice, policy, and procedure is able to understand the context like our human minds do, right? So that is very important. So hallucination is one type of things where models tend to hallucinate. They like to hallucinate. uh, Jailbreaks and prompt injection attacks. If you see these models operate by something which are like, especially the chat models, you give them a system prompt. System prompt tells them that what you are. For example, if I'm creating an application, I can say my chatbot as a governance mechanism in the system message. I am an IRS chatbot. I can only answer on the chat text-based questions. Do not ask me any other information. So this is what the system prompt is, and the model will start behaving and will align itself. Jailbreaks and the prompt injection attacks can override that persona definition, and it can basically change the deployed model and the application behavior completely. Then definitely harmful content and code generation and manipulation and human-like behavior, right? Like they start act like human, and you can say you are a human, you need to be logical, you need to answer in the way. So uh, you can understand that the challenges over here is not a machine level problem solution. It's more towards you have to have the processes and the tools who think and interpret the information and the responses like humans. So when we are talking about the design of the LLM, the secure design, definitely whenever we work in Microsoft, basically we believe in defense in depth policy. For example, when you start with the model layer, which is the basic, which is the lower layer, as I told you, when you deploy OpenAI models on Azure AI ecosystem, you can basically make them secure. It comes with built-in RBAC. It's a model inside your subscription, inside your resource group. So all of the Active Directory controls which you have implemented for your organization, those security groups, they can all be reused, implemented, enhanced, and secured. You can have custom roles. Basically, we have worked with so many customers which have very granular control requirements. One team can access this feature of the model set, the other team cannot. So in Azure, we can definitely do that, which is the model layer. Then the safety system, right? So once you deploy your model in your endpoint, definitely you must have a safety system. That safety system should be able to basically inspect your input tokens, and it should be able to inspect your output tokens which the model is responding, and it should be able to alert or block anything which it faces in the categories which, or in the other categories which I have just mentioned earlier, like harm, hallucination, persona impersonations, and whatnot, unethical responses. So this safety system has to be there. And we in Azure, basically, whenever you deploy your OpenAI systems in Azure, we have a safety system which is specifically you can opt in around these OpenAI endpoints, and then all of that safety, and then you can configure that basically, and you can use that. So this is the second thing. The third thing is the meta prompt and grounding, right? So As I told earlier, these generative models are very strong. They can generate anything. You can ask them any question and they will respond. So meta prompting is very important, where you give some governance mechanism to your prompt. For example, if you are, for example, when you are asking a meta prompt that, okay, please answer the question respectfully, do not answer if you are not sure. Make sure your answer does not contain any personal comment on any personal, which can hurt any personal feelings. Do not respond with a follow-up question which can be related to any personal infringement of information. So these meta prompts basically you define in your application, where you tell, where whenever you ask a question, these meta prompts go with every prompt and makes a guardrail, and they make a guardrail in your system or in your in your model. So when the model receives the information, it receives the information with that meta prompt governance controls. And when it is generating the tokens and an output, it will always keep that context in focus. So definitely I have seen that when you use words like do not, you must not, they are basically very powerful words. LLMs understand that, and this way you can reduce hallucination and other problems to a very large extent. Grounding is very important. One of my colleagues basically he discussed that grounding is something that you want model to basically ground his answer with some facts. Now, how do you do those facts? Basically, that you have your own enterprise data, which has the facts, and you want your model to only reply with those facts. Now, because because if it is a generic purpose, you can ask chat GPT model anything, because it has been trained on such data, it will respond. But you have a chatbot where you want, like, for example, you have a product catalog, right? Or basically you have some manuals, or you have some PDF or Word documents in your organization, and you want your model, yes, I want to use the model capability of generation, which it can generate when it looks at new text. It must use its generative capabilities, which it has learned in the past, but it should not use its own data. Data will be mine, capability will be yours, but I want my data to be used for answers, not the generic available information. So grounding is something which you can do with your RAG pattern, and then definitely you augment that with the prompt, and then basically you start that. The upper layer is the user experience. In the user experience, if you're a chatbot, you definitely would like to build some application level controls, which can basically avoid any unethical or any unnecessary or any question which is not aligned to your use case for which you have built this application, right? Maybe token limit, maybe repeated questions, or that sort of attacks, or impersonation attacks, or jailbreak attacks. So this is all you can do at that level, right? So this is defense in depth mechanism, where you can design your Gen AI workloads, and then you can make them more secure. And what I am trying to say, that this is what Azure is proud, basically, because what we have done with our customers is a part of our internal practices. We always follow defense in depth mechanism for all of our open AI or LLMs, or large language model or small language models workloads. When we are talking about the safety service, I would like to touch upon the Azure AI Content Safety Service. Basically, now this is a service which we have available, and whenever you deploy your open AI models, LLM models, you can use this service. Remember when I was discussing about that how do because these models are contextual based models, right? For example, I can give you an example, right? Let's say I have an axe to cut a path in the forest, right? There is a word which is axe used in this, but I'm going with an axe to cut a path in the forest. This is not something that what the traditional language or detection algorithms or applications will do. They will block it. They will say, no, there's an X used. The intention is not right. But if I can ask my LLM another question, they will not block. They may block it, but I can ask. I need an X to harm someone, right, or to do something bad. X is used, but the context is different. So that's where the machine learning AI moderated content filtering comes into the focus, and the traditional filtering mechanisms will not work. So if you see over here, this is one of the things which you can basically look at, that we have the responses. You go to the content safety, and then when you go to the content safety, then on the fly, the ensemble of models look at the responses, they calculate the context, they calculate the risk score, and then they basically provide that, is this an abuse concern? Should this be blocked? It's unethical. And definitely what we are doing across the categories of hate, sexual contents, violence or self-harm, right? So these are few of the categories which we basically use. So when we're talking about the content filtering in Azure AI are very comprehensive, very detailed. Our customers are extremely happy, specifically with all of that hallucination and these sort of things which are coming with these large language models. So this is a safety system. It works on both prompt and completion, right? So this is very important. When the model receives an input text, the input text may be very harmless, but when the model responds, it understands it can create an output, which is a completion, which is not aligned to the organizational standard. So this content filtering goes through both prompt input and output through an ensemble of classification models, right? So this is a classification model, and it detects and prevents the output from the harmful content. So what we do, basically, it's all configurable. You can basically score. You can return a score based on 4 severity levels, right? High, medium, low, and safe, and then classification. So let's say if the customer is a gaming customer, and the gamings have some sort of I would say sometimes fighting games or something, their appetite for these configurations will be entirely different from a legal industry, which are very sensitive to these things. So when I'm saying they are configurable, you can definitely set a threshold that you want to filter them on a medium or high or low, or you will want to consider only the ones which are safe. Okay, you have appetite up to medium type of severity based on your business model, like animated games or something. So that all can be configured, right, on based on that. So when you're talking about the content filtering for the large language models, definitely this is all configurable, as I basically showed you. For example, if it is low and medium and high, then basically then it will detect the severity at low, medium, and high thing. But if you set it to high, then contents are detected at severity level low and medium, but only high is this, right? So as you configure that, according to your risk appetite, you can basically configure them, and you can basically use them, right? So one thing more, I just wanted to I just wanted to add one thing to that. I will definitely request everyone to go to the to visit frontier model information on the internet. This is basically a frontier model group which Microsoft and uh, there are few companies who have basically done that. So this is basically it's a model, frontier model, specifically for the LLMs, open large language models, how to make them secure and safe. And Microsoft is working with different companies for that. And I'm looking forward for that sort of context. And this would really help us to streamline and to make our systems very secure. So yeah, thank you so much. If we have any questions, I'm happy to take some questions over here.